before I do an eventual long-form video essay on Lookism, making big deal a topic I really want to talk about in my longer, spoiler-filled video, and will most definitely be talked about in the longer video. A long-form video on Lookism is still in the works, but I want to take my time writing the script and editing, as I want it to be an amazing video.
My name is Logan L. Yep, this is my first time ever showing my face on camera. I'll ask you guys, what did you think I would look like? What do you think about how I look now? I remember as a kid watching my favorite YouTubers, Ant Venom, Beijing Canadian, Sky Does Minecraft, the Yogscast in the Littlewood, all showing their faces for the first time. It was strange. Did I think some of them were ugly? I'm not sure. But their looks were already so solidified in the skins that they used in-game that it was strange to see the person behind it all. In recent times, you can see this happen with Dream, a huge spectacle event that saw tens of millions of people clowning on bro, for him to undo his face reveal and try to become faceless again. My avatar was basically just a redo of Logan Lee from Lookism, although a bit different, but I still wonder if you guys too think it's weird to see me. Do I look uglier than you were expecting? All of these themes relate to the main point, an analysis and video essay of my favorite webtoon of all time. A love letter to Lookism.
I got two phones, one for the plug and one for the load. I got two phones, one for the bitches and one for the dough. Think I need two more. Line popping, I'm ring, ring, ringing. Count money while they ring, ring, ringing. Trap jumping, I'm ring, ring, ringing. I got two phones, one for the plug and one for the load. I got two phones, one for the bitches and one for the dough. Think I need two more. Line popping, I'm ring, ring, ringing. Count money while they ring, ring, ringing. Trap jumping, I'm ring, ring, ringing.
Lookism is a webtoon written and illustrated by Park Tae-jun in 2014. The story follows Daniel Park, a fat, ugly, antisocial loser who moves towns as he's getting bullied in high school. Before starting school, he wakes up in a taller, more attractive body, his new second body. This body, which seemingly appeared out of nowhere, wakes up whenever Daniel sleeps, and vice versa. On Daniel's first day of school, his school experience changes, as he is the one who appears instead of his original body. Here begins the Freaky Friday type plot, where we see Daniel navigate high school and the big city, experiencing how different life is as the new Daniel Park, attending school as handsome Daniel, and choosing to work at night in a convenience store as chubby Daniel. Lookism is a super popular webtoon that has maintained its popularity a whole decade since its first chapter. 500 plus chapters, a Chinese drama adaptation in 2019, an anime in 2022, and a whole universe of derivatives and spin-off webtoons based off the universe and characters of the manhwa. This was also the beginning of Park Tae-jun and his comic company Park Tae-jun Comics, one of the most popular manhwa companies in Korea, with a corporate building, billboard displaying the popularity of each of their webtoons, many in-house artists and authors, and big-name celebrity fans.
저는 외모지상주의 너무 재밌더라고요.
새로 나왔더라고요.
어제 나랑 지우랑 바꿨잖아.
Lookism was the genesis of it all, and is the topic of my love letter. When thinking about Lookism, there are three eras of Lookism that I personally distinguish, the first of which being early Lookism. Early Lookism is truly amazing. I know some people suggest skipping it to get straight into the high school gang plot, but seriously, as a more slice-of-life webtoon, it is one of the best. The main characters of early Lookism consist of Daniel Park, the hero of our story. Early Daniel is quite naive and innocent. Being bullied all his school life, Daniel doesn't understand what a lot of normal kids do, and especially doesn't relate to his delinquent classmates he ends up befriending. This charming quality is noticed by everybody at J High School by the end of early Lookism. Daniel befriending everyone due to his kind demeanor and genuine respect for everyone. Daniel's canonical handsomeness and celebrity looks, juxtaposed with his extremely kind nature, is what makes him so much fun to read as a character. He's almost like an OP character in terms of likability, whilst also just being an OP character in general. Jae Hong, Daniel's first friend. Jae is a chaebol heir, which is a Korean term for the children of the uber wealthy and powerful families. Jae is extremely rich, the opposite of the poor Daniel Park, but is charmed by Daniel's kindness and, to be honest, his looks. Reading the early chapters back, it really does seem like Jae, especially before he sees Daniel's good deeds and kindness, already likes Daniel based on looks alone. In the anime, this does change a bit, Jay warming up to Daniel after seeing him stand up for the bully kids. Jay and Daniel's friendship, and to some ship relationship, is definitely a favorite of many of the fans of the webtoon, the comments showing this clearly. Daniel is basically the only character Jay interacts with, and it is pretty heartwarming to see Jay's affection for Daniel, whether you prefer it as platonic or ship the two as romantic. Like many of the characters, Jay's character, familial influence, and more gets expanded upon as the webtoon continues and the gang wars begin. Zach Lee, Daniel's first antagonist. Apart from Logan Lee, who in the first few chapters was more backstory than anything, Zach is shown as Daniel's first antagonist. Zach is a boxer who is jealous of the handsome Daniel Park due to his crush Mira finding Daniel attractive. Zach, a typical delinquent bully, after meeting Daniel, eventually changes his ways, joining Daniel as a reliable ally. Zach's best moments of this era is seeing him butt heads with Daniel, hard simping for Mira, and his eventual loyalty to the crew being shown time and time again when it matters. He too will see more development as the story goes along. Untae Lee, better known as Vasco. Vasco begins the story hating Daniel, mainly due to his good looks. The handsome men that Vasco is used to are always delinquents and bullies, whilst also taking all the chicas for themselves. Daniel is different, however, and after Vasco sees that Daniel is kind, fights against bullies, and seems to view people beyond just their looks, he befriends Daniel, joining alongside him and becoming more involved with the gang activities as the story progresses. Albeit, still jealous of Daniel's good looks and literal unspoken riz. Zoe Park, the first love interest. A delinquent girl who is instantly in love with Daniel, Zoe is an interesting character, as her character improvement seemingly came from a single event. While Zoe was already gradually improving in the first few chapters, becoming less and less of your average high school delinquent, it was the live streaming arc that brought her character the biggest change. After getting stalked by a crazed TikTok live fan, Zoe is attacked in the middle of the night. She is defenseless with no one to help her. That is, until Daniel comes in to save her. Not handsome Daniel, chubby Daniel, affectionately nicknamed Piggy. This causes Zoe to have a one-sided crush on chubby Daniel from then on, leading to cute and wholesome interactions, Zoe being a key character to J-High and Early Lookism, returning in later chapters of the gang wars as well. Crystal is the last huge character that I would consider pivotal to Early Lookism. Crystal is a chaebol heir, like Jay, and is the daughter of Charles Choi. Crystal is rich and beautiful, and is introduced as more beautiful than any of the other female characters in the webtoon. All the male characters swooning over her, similar to Daniel. The twist is that she also has a double body, a chubby body, that looks similar to Daniel. She similarly keeps this a secret from her bodyguard, her business partners, and classmates, arriving to school as chubby Crystal, and working at night as the beautiful chaebol heir. These two, similarly to Zoe, have really good moments, and in my opinion are the best ship in the webtoon. I love the dynamic between each person low-key hating the other person's beautiful self, and instead falling for their chubby bodies. Just a really satisfying to read romance plot in the slice of life context. She is my personal ship for Daniel, the dynamic between the two being my favorite type of romance. Do I think she will end up with Daniel? Well, seeing her backseated later on in the webtoon, probably not. But definitely at the start I thought she would, and I still hope she does now.
Some other characters important to this arc include
Eli Jung, the handsome hairstylist, Duke Pyeon, the ugly bullied rapper, Vinjin, the handsome rapper bully, Jace, Vasco's right-hand man, Jiho Park, the scrawny bullied kid,
and others like
Du Lee, Mira, Mary, Joy, Logan. There are so many.
This huge cast of characters all get their own screen time, especially in Early Lookism.
They intertwine themselves with Daniel's story, with J-High's affairs, and eventually with the huge gang plot later on. It is quite amazing reading these chapters again and seeing the humble and peaceful beginnings of all of these characters.
I consider Early Lookism as everything before the picnic arc,
where the aspects of Lookism take center stage and the idea of multiple gangs is not known. VMatt has a video summarizing the entirety of Lookism if you would want to skip it, but to be honest, I really am against it. These arcs are some of my favorite parts of the story I honestly look back on most fondly.
Let me go over some of these arcs and remind you, or
tell you for the first time about how good they were.
The Daniel is poor and has no drip arc, which I've referenced in probably every Lookism video I've made up until this point, where Jay gifts Daniel his entire wardrobe to avoid Daniel getting bullied. Jay gifts these clothes after there is rumors that Daniel is poor. Jay gifting them under the guise that they are all cheap clothes that do not fit him anymore. All these lies told just so that Daniel does not decline the expensive gift. This arc was a narratively genius way of explaining why broke-ass Daniel would be wearing expensive designer for the rest of the series. We have the school festival, which is the first time we meet Gun and learn more about Crystal. This is the first tease of the future gang storyline, but it's also just a really wholesome end to Duke's first character arc. Daniel also questions himself about getting absorbed in the whole idea of lookism, as Crystal implies that he may be judging others for their looks. This was also the finale of the Netflix anime, and is a super sweet arc about being confident about doing what you enjoy doing, whilst also having sprinkles of hilarity involved. The Abandoned Dog Enu arc, where we learn about Crystal's second body for the first time. This story revolves around a malnourished dog, abandoned by her owner. A pregnant dog that gets beaten by the bullies of the area for being an ugly homeless dog. It is brutal, but it is so beautiful to see Daniel and Crystal look after Enu, and develop feelings for each other's chubby versions. I love rereading this arc. Dangerous part-time job arc. Daniel gets a job as a male host. Accidentally. This arc, out of most of early Lookism, does a really good job in showing off Daniel's character and charm. As a male host, he competes against the other men for the attention of the paying customer. This customer is a high roller, the top hosts employing their flirtatious techniques to try and get as much commission and gifts as possible from her. Daniel, who is too innocent for this harsh job, is honest in all his interactions with her. As Daniel was told to dress formal, he dressed up in Jay's donated clothes, rocking up in a designer suit, luxury watch, and expensive dress shoes, sending an unintended message that he must be a super well-performing male host. This is the Lookism aspect. Daniel, as the handsome, well-dressed man, is given status and expectations from the other hosts. This is where the satisfying writing hits, as Daniel's true nature comes through. To try and win Daniel over, the customer asks all the hosts at the table what they want as gifts. A watch, one host says. The top host of the club scoffs and thinks to himself that he has to remain top class, asking for a cheap Hermes bracelet, playfully suggesting to the customer to buy matching bracelets to build the relationship further. Daniel thinks to himself and reckons that he must be allowed to ask for something expensive. He stutters. Ruh. They think to themselves, Rolex? Rolls Royce? Ralph Lauren? For Daniel to ask for a rice cooker. The rice cooker at his home being broken and needing replacing. This immediately wins over the customer. Such an affordable and simple gift being the perfect answer that perfectly shows Daniel's true character and upbringing. The male host thinks to himself that his skill as a host is too high and that he must be from abroad. This arc perfectly exemplifies a lot of the early storytelling of this period of Lookism. Daniel's innocence and kindness, persevering over people's preconceived notions of the handsome Daniel Park. Other arcs include Vasco's birthday party, a whole lot of fun between the main cast. The illegal Toto arc, the first big threat that the friends face off against in a gang-esque fight that foreshadows the future storytelling. Jake Kim being the leader of this elaborate gambling scam on G-Hope Park. I wonder if we'll see more of him later on. PTJ Entertainment arc, another gang-type arc that sees Daniel and the rest go against a K-pop entertainment company. This is the introduction to DG, the biggest K-pop star of the Lookism universe, a reference to G-Dragon. He acts different around Daniel, with an air of mystery. I wonder if we'll see more of him. The last arc, the picnic arc, is another arc I love rereading. We see the school go to the webtoons equivalent of Lot's World, interacting with other schools. It has all my favorite parts. Daniel being seen as handsome and defying expectations, Jay and Daniel moments, Zach defending Mira, Vasco being the best not scary guy, Crystal being a badass, and just the all-around immaculate vibes of this arc. This is also where the concept of the four crews is introduced, the end of early Lookism, and start of the gang-style storytelling that the webtoon is now much more synonymous with. Early Lookism, whilst especially crude in the first 50 or so chapters, was just truly a joy to read. I'm sure many of you loving the early ride as well. I started reading Lookism right after finishing high school. I always liked anime, but didn't read much manga. At the time, I was getting back into K-pop and thought maybe I should read a Korean manhwa. I was recommended Lookism from my sister, and I loved it. I scoffed at the ugly art style at first, but after I was able to look past the atrocities that my eyes were witnessing, I was reading a genuinely amazing story with really heartwarming messages. The Lookism aspects of it were something I really enjoyed. It was so satisfying seeing the different characters in the webtoon misunderstand and judge both Daniels. These characters ending up befriending them both. All of the various trials and tribulations relating to the key concept of Lookism was a major factor as to why I kept reading. It was also super easy to read, thanks to the addictive scrolling of webtoons. The fights were also pretty interesting and different to the anime and manga I had read before. Lookism was a good change for me and opened my eyes to a whole new world of media. But what about somebody else who reads Lookism? Somebody who many of you guys in the Lookism community already know.
Matt!
Logan L.
Well, an actual fight. He has been better. Good job, Piggy. At this point in the story, just say Jiho has some serious issues with insecurity. Welcome to part 2 of Lookism Smasher Pass.
Matt, what got you into Lookism?
I'd say, just like how everyone else got into Lookism, the anime.
That's just cap.
No, I'm not kidding.
There's no way. You made videos before the anime, bro.
No, if you check my date, I made videos 1 month after the anime came out.
Did you actually?
If you look at my first video, it was like a month after the anime. I don't know when that, like a year ago.
Yeah.
I started the channel, actually I think exactly a year ago from this date.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, thank you. I watched the anime on Netflix. It was just like a random pop-up on my screen. Got hooked, finished the whole webtoon in like a day or two. And then I made my first video, actually, it's deleted. It was a power scaling video.
Yeah, I remember that.
Really?
Yeah.
You watched it? I didn't
watch the whole thing. She was ass, but
Yeah. It was like no talking, and then I just pretty much power scaled the entire Lookism, copyright strike and everything.
yeah.
And then I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I should just start doing like actual videos.
So it was actually the anime.
It's actually, I'm not kidding.
Wow.
People think it's like I'm an OG fan. I'm really not. I've been a fan pretty recently, actually.
So then, what made you want to make videos on Lookism?
You know, I always wanted to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Like, growing up, I actually had a few channels. I had like a vlog channel, like a few gaming channels. That never really popped off because I don't know, I'm just ass, I guess. And then with Lookism, it was like no one was making content on it. I looked at the YouTube. I think it was like one content creator, 100 views, and it was you too before. I was like, you know what? I can step into this niche. I can do this. I made my first video, popped off. My second video popped off. Third video popped off. I made the complete timeline of Lookism as my third video. That got like 100,000 views in like a week. I was like, you know what? This can do well.
Self-Glaze. Who was the first Lookism YouTuber you watched?
Oh, there was no YouTubers before me, so.
Bruh.
I was the first. Are you gonna cut that out? Are you just gonna go straight into my answer? Well, I would say like the only video out there at the time was, what was the title? Why You Should Read Lookism.
Yep.
This is the part 2 of it, I guess. I watched it. That was dope. Very acidic editing. It was like trippy as hell.
Yeah.
Almost got a few attacks, a few seizures there. Yeah, I watched it, but then I was like, I looked at your channel, hella inactive.
That was the only video.
And then I was like, oh, this guy's a one and done guy. One and done type of guy.
Yeah.
So I was like, I gotta step in, bro. I gotta step in for the community real quick.
Yeah. You did. Favorite character in Lookism?
Well, I have a lot. Obviously, we know there's Darius Hong, obviously.
Darius Hong.
Well, I think my favorite character has probably fluctuated throughout the years. Well, I guess 1 year. I used to like Johan a lot, so I was hella edgy. but then his edginess got too much for me. Later on, when he became that whole like solo god dog thing for the whole series, I was like, bro, this is your only your only personality is that you're alone.
Yeah, he's got no crew.
Nah, he's got no crew. I mean, still cool as hell. I'd say now it's like probably Eli Jang, Warren Che, because I like their like.
So you fuck with Hostel?
Yeah, I fuck with Hostel because the duo dynamic, them together, I think it's the best duo.
And you liked when they went to Workers?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't make sense, but it gave Workers more power for sure.
Yeah.
And I think the whole breaking down scene in the first affiliate really got me to like Eli more. Like when Heather's mom called him. And that's when I turned from Johan to Eli fanboy from then on.
Favorite arc of Lookism?
Oh man. I have a video on YouTube, self-plug, ranking every arc in Lookism. But I think that's hella outdated because I've definitely, I like read Lookism only a week before that, so I didn't really, I was just hyped up at that moment, you know?
Yeah.
So the most recent arc was like Hunt for Big Deal or something. I'm like, oh, I love Hunt for Big Deal because it's the most recent one and it's like good art and everything. But I don't think it's Hunt for Big Deal anymore. I would say I really like the affiliate arcs. Hostel arc was also really good. I'll just stick with Hostel. I think Hostel, the Runaway Family with
So starting at Runaway Family.
Yeah, like I think it's like a Hostel saga.
Yeah.
Not really the arc.
And then ending at the Eli Jang backstory.
There was a lot of arcs throughout the Hostel. Like there's Eli Jang's backstory, there's the war.
Yep.
There's the Jace Park Johan Seong thing, the one night. So I like the whole saga, I'd say. It was just a beautifully written story at that time. They cared about story and emotional impact a lot, rather than now they're like just hype moments 24/7. So that was peakism.
Early Lookism versus current Lookism. Early Lookism as in...
Is that Hostel though?
Nah, I think that's like...
That's like mid Lookism.
That's middle Lookism.
I'd say current then. 100%. Art was...
Because you don't really like early Lookism. Even though that's the anime that you watched.
That's crazy. Yeah. The anime was so good. I thought at the time, and then I read the webtoon, and I was mind blown after that. It was like...
I like early Lookism.
I mean, it was funny. It's a lot funnier than now. A lot of slice of life, cheeky moments between the characters, very cute. But probably current Lookism is really good. The whole Xian Liang arc that just passed.
Well, I've not finished it.
What party are you on?
Shanlang 15, because I'm on webtoon now.
Oh.
One word for the audience.
If you know who I am, just subscribe to me. Yeah, that's all.
Bet. Oh, that was good. I beg your audio is good. Oh my god.
I also like Lookism because of the fashion. The characters had so much swag. Jae Hong in his designer outfits and chrome hearts rings. Zach wearing the same Givenchy Rottweiler dog sweatshirt that I remember all the celebrities were wearing when I was in year 6. Daniel dripped out in every chapter. I just loved it. And as someone that, if you can tell from the channel, likes clothes, I was able to appreciate these references. This is obviously a big part to me personally, as I was able to create a whole niche on my YouTube channel because of it. I was always chubby from memory, always having a weird sense of my weight. I genuinely never thought I was ugly, but was always aware that I was heavier. As a young kid too, which is kinda sad to be honest. It all changed after high school. Maybe it was all the studying, or maybe it was just the amount of free time I gained. But after starting university, I lost a considerable amount of weight. This made me resonate with Lookism even more, the stories of the webtoon being somewhat relatable. Whilst I certainly did not glow up to become Daniel Park, I definitely felt more confident. I don't know. Dieting, cardio, and at-home calisthenics was how I lost my weight, eventually getting to where I'm at currently. Although I am far from finished, especially recently as I'm putting a bit of the weight back on, as you can maybe tell. I'm not too sure what to call the era of Lookism before what we have right now, but is after early Lookism. So I'll just call it middle Lookism. Middle Lookism was pretty good, I'd say. With the introduction of the 4 crews, it had quite a formulaic storytelling approach. We are introduced to a crew, the crew needs to be beaten, we learn about the backstory, and then go from there. This was still interesting though, and the formula is really only able to be seen if you zoom out quite a lot, missing the intricacies of the plot. The 4 crews, from my least favorite to most favorite, are as follows. God Dog. I do think all the crews in Lookism are cool, but I guess God Dog might be the least cool. For the most part, God Dog is a one-man crew, Johan Song being the leader and for a majority of the story, only member of the crew. I really like the way Johan is introduced, giving us an entire backstory about him under the guise of a Zach Lee backstory, with the big bombshell twist at the end being that Johan is the leader of this elusive crew. I do believe there was a bit of retconning, mainly with Johan initially talking to Daniel about God Dog as if it's a righteous crew that has each member's backs, when we learn later on that Johan kinda usurped an existing crew, with members that don't necessarily have any loyalty to him. Regardless, Johan himself is a super dope character. And what I do appreciate God Dog as a crew for especially is the fact that they are the catalyst for questism, as that spin-off relates to what happened to God Dog's area when it split, or something like that. Workers. Definitely the most villainous out of the crews, Workers was the most elusive and longest arc that Lookism had, spanning over multiple sagas, even, in my opinion, going from middle Lookism to current Lookism. This is mainly because of the way Workers is structured. 4 different affiliates, all under the same Workers umbrella, a part of one gang that sees Eugene as the head. I really enjoyed the early mystery of Workers, them being described as cold and organizational, super different to the youth vibes of the other crews. My favorite Workers arcs in order are probably the 4th as the best, followed by the 2nd, then the 3rd, then the 1st. They were all pretty good, but I really love Samuel So and just that whole arc in general. Like seeing the introduction of Manager Kim, as well as the super creative utilization of Daniel's second body. The 2nd affiliate was really good for closing up Sinu's arc. To be honest, tears came out of my eyes reading the culmination of a couple hundred chapters of build-up, finally seeing its satisfying end. Such a nice arc, with really nice art. And how could I forget Doublemulti. The 3rd affiliate was cool. I like seeing the various people congregate at one place. Johan, Vasco, Jake, a lot of them. Xiaolong and Vivi's relationship, however, definitely was the standout factor as to why it was so good. And the 1st affiliate was alright. In my opinion, I'd say that this arc is a part of current Lookism, for reasons I'll get into later. I personally put it down as my least favorite, as I feel that the actual affiliate itself is not what I like the most about this arc. So when ranking Workers arcs, the fact that most of my favorite moments of this arc don't really involve Gyeol or Hangyeol, yeah. It is also not a secret to anybody in the community that this arc is universally disliked. And while I personally still had moments where I enjoyed it, it is definitely not better than the other 3 affiliates. Anyways, Workers is cool and it's definitely a big defining feature of middle Lookism. Hostel. Hostel was introduced as a crew going through a civil war, with the head, Ollie Wang, leader of Hostel B, warring with Hostel A, led by Sally and Warren. There are so many things to like about Hostel. First of all, its beginnings, with the entire flashback story. Figuring out how the crew started, the relationships that formed, and how things became so array. Like the amazing twist that Eli Jung, the unassuming hairdresser character that was introduced extremely early on in the webtoon, was the creator of the crew. Ugh, amazing. Also, Ollie Wang's whole character, like how he personally fit into the crew, being the misfit of the gang, and him loving the idea of Eli Jung. Just such an interesting concept for a character that I'm glad was explored in the Hostel arc. The crew is also one of the biggest in the world of Lookism, from memory, basically being mentioned in all of the spin-offs. This is because it is such an easy idea to transfer to any story. The Hostel crew being the biggest in the Lookism universe because it is made up of all the runaways in the Seoul area that are under Hostel's protection/domain. It was even a major plot point of Viral Hit, where Taehoon goes undercover to join a runaway family. Jeez, I love this webtoon, so cool. When Eli eventually returns to Hostel and peace falls to the crew, it also emphasizes the familial nature of the crew. They operate like a true family, where they care for each other and love each other. Crews where you can feel their bond are my personal favorites, and is probably why I dislike the previous 2 crews a bit more than Hostel. Big Deal. Big Deal is definitely the best out of the 4 main crews in my opinion. The leader, Jake Kim, is introduced in the Illegal Toto arc as a thwarted, one-dimensional bad guy that Crystal's bodyguard defeated. This was only the tip of the iceberg, as we see Jake's life in juvenile detention and the badassery that happens surrounding him. Jake Kim is a leader. He leads and his followers follow. To say he has mad aura is an understatement. His underlings are also badass. Lineman, Brad, and Jason are all loyal members of Big Deal that show their belief in Boss Jake and his strength and leadership qualities. Jerry Kwon, known as Jake Kim's sword, is my favorite Big Deal member that isn't Jake. He is known as Jake's sword because he is Jake's sworn protection. Jerry is also introduced as secretly being stronger than Jake, which is a super badass character trait. Jerry keeps this fact as a little secret to both Jake and everybody else, as a sword should not be more powerful than the person it protects. Man, that's just such cool writing. I also love the previous members of the crew as well, Samuel So and Alexander Huang, the leaders of the Workers' Fourth Affiliate. Samuel is by far one of the coolest characters in the entire webtoon, with a tragic backstory of his own. The rivalry and camaraderie between Samuel and Jake, the secret between their familial ties, and the falling out between the two is more reason as to why Big Deal is my favorite. And obviously, Sinu Han. Sinu, the previous leader before Jake, was sold to workers, an early motivation for Jake committing crimes in the early parts of the webtoon. This story of mystery surrounding Sinu's whereabouts, his reasoning for selling himself to workers, and why he left Big Deal, all hit a gigantic climax in the Workers' second affiliate arc, where they are reunited, and Jake brings his former leader back home. The best moments of that arc made me cry, and further solidified Big Deal as my favorite crew in Lookism. What is also cool about all these crews and the development of Middle Lookism is the slight foreshadowing and connections between characters from early Lookism to Middle Lookism. Johan Song, leader of God Dog, is Zack and Mira's middle school friend. Jake Kim was involved in Jiho's gambling arc. Eli Jung was introduced super early on as a super side character that only gained a bit more screen time towards the end of early Lookism. As well as Charles Choi, Crystal's father, and H Company, Jay's family conglomerate, being the bigger reasons as towards the creation of the four crews and Daniel's goal of disassembling them. Also, the K-pop idol DG, being a super important character that becomes even more important in current Lookism. What I think is the catalyst for the beginning of Middle Lookism is also one of the biggest qualities, and also one of my personal biggest gripes. That is the death of Daniel Park. The death of Daniel Park by the hands of Jiho brings about the more serious vibes, the focus on the gangs, and less focus on Lookism. This makes the entirety of J-High focus more of their motivation on disassembling the four crews, a task given by DG, an easy to understand formula that sees each crew being defeated or disassembled in some way. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of good character moments within these chapters, such as Zack's babysit diary, the J-Dachi case files, and Wuthering J-High School, where we see our J-High squad go through more mundane but cute stories. Although, as Middle Lookism continues, these stories become further and fewer in between. As it continues, the focus on Daniel and J-High becomes less and less too, which you don't really notice until it's been like 100 or so chapters since the last time you've seen Jae-Hong. It actually became a meme in the Lookism community, dubbing the new era as Jakeism. Jake becoming a bit of the main character. Actually, I say a bit, Jake definitely became the main character towards the end of Middle Lookism. The outfits are also a lot less cool, as seen in most of my Lookism fashion breakdowns, where the outfits are uniquely 2014 at the start, becoming more generic in Middle Lookism. For a lot of these characters and arcs, black suits became default, which is like, come on. But I've definitely generalized a large part of Middle Lookism, the similarities between what I consider Middle Lookism being a lot looser than the obvious similarities of early Lookism. The fights are super good in this arc though. Choreography, fire. Matchups, fire. And build-ups, fire. The fights are definitely more flashy than early Lookism, which brings about more excitement for the majority of readers. Like, the introduction of UI Daniel sets the tone as to the hype moments we will get for the rest of the series. Middle Lookism, I'm sure, is considered as the start of Lookism to a lot of people. Me, not included. So far, my experience of Lookism, as you can maybe tell, definitely skews towards the early Lookism storytelling, valuing the simple moments a lot more than maybe some others would. I definitely am a huge fan of the gang aspect though, or else why would I continue reading this webtoon? My experience, and that of Matt's, is just that, our experience. What about others? The broader Lookism community that I haven't touched upon yet. Yo, yeah, to start off with, do you want to introduce yourself? Who you are, your channel, what you kind of make content about?
Hi, my name's Kaiseni. I'm a YouTuber that delves into manhwas and sometimes anime.
Hey, what's up guys? It's Anime Erudite. I'm a Lookism creator and I make content on Lookism and other things.
Hi, I'm Gruno. I'm a Lookism YouTuber, as most of you guys know. My content focuses mainly around like the martial arts and fitness side of the Lookism space.
For everyone that doesn't know, I am Blur, and my channel is called Blur Nation. And what I do on that channel is I react to manga, manhwa, and anime videos. Sometimes mainly manhwa though.
I'm Zen or Zenkai. I make content mainly surrounding the power scaling aspect of Lookism.
Techno09. Probably one of the most well-known Lookism scalers, for better or worse. Just happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. First question I've got is, what got you into Lookism?
I got into Lookism back in December of 2022 when the anime first came out. I always wanted to read Lookism since it was on Manga Rock's explore page for the longest time, but I kept putting it off. But when the anime finally came out on Netflix, one day I was just bored. I wanted to clean my room, so I put it on and I watched all the episodes that same day. And I was like, hold on, this is actually pretty good.
For the longest time, me and Lookism have had like a kind of a love-hate relationship. I've been seeing like clips of it on TikTok, seeing how cool it is. But then when I actually kind of got started into reading it, I was like, where's all the cool scenes, right? I think for a while I stopped, maybe for like a few months. And then I saw another Lookism TikTok, and I was like, fuck it, I'll finally start, I'll finally get into it, and I won't stop reading until it gets good. And I've never looked back since.
So it's actually a funny story. So I was on YouTube one day, and I read one of those like, I watched one of those like summary videos on YouTube, and it was like covering the Lookism anime when it like just released. So then I went on my own time and watched all the episodes of the anime. I got obsessed with the manhwa.
Oh man, jeez. It was the sheer amount of my subscribers. I remember at the time I was reacting to Legend of the Northern Blade, and I would just, one constant thing, every time I put out a video, and it was just not even just Legends of the Northern Blade, it was other content I was doing, but there will always be someone in the comment section who would just be like, Lookism, man, Lookism. And I'm like, okay, what is going on? What is this? So, it piqued my interest after a while, right? I took a shot at it, and yeah, the rest is history.
I used to do a lot of debates, and I was in a couple of servers that had Lookism in it, and I thought it looked cool, so I kind of asked around. I was like, hey, what's that? What are you guys reading? So I picked it up, and the first few hundred chapters were kind of slow, but towards like the middle of the story, it picked up really fast, and I just got really into it.
So that's actually kind of funny. So what got me into Lookism was a friend of mine who used to be like a kind of a teacher for debating. It was actually a video that he uploaded, his top, I think it was like top 5 in Lookism. So the first thing I see of this series is Goo versus UI Daniel. Like that is the first thing that I see. And I don't see the full fight, but he's just explaining like, oh yeah, Daniel just went through this gauntlet and he's fighting Goo. Goo wins. I'm looking at these panels, like this looks insane. I don't know what the series is about. I have a complete misinterpretation of what these things are. I'm thinking this is a tournament or something. And then I'm like, sure, I'll start reading this. I got nothing better to do. I kind of got hooked from day one, even early Lookism. I was like, this is really enjoyable. I like this. This is a good story. And now here we are.
What made you want to start making videos on Lookism?
I just found it to be a really fascinating topic, even at that time, because when I caught up, we were just getting into like ensemble. So at that point, even then, there were so many different interpretations of how things could go. You could rank so many characters top 5. Like I think my first ever ranking, as horrendous as it was like Goo, UI Daniel, Eli Zhang, Jake, and Johan, and like Gun wasn't even in the top 5. Like, he wasn't even there my first time ranking. But then I like talking to like all the others, like seeing all the different interpretations, how different scales were at the time. That got me interested. That got me like hooked on this is content that I would love to make because of how easy it is to start a conversation with this. So it just opened a lot of doors for like interaction and seemingly limitless content for me to make.
I was already kind of doing YouTube power scaling videos at the time, but my channel kind of sucked, and I wanted to kind of make content that I liked instead of, you know, sticking to mainstream manga and anime. And there was another YouTuber named STK Hub who was also making Lookism content. So it kind of like gave me the idea to go and do it myself.
I wanted to first make videos on Lookism because, of course, I watched content creators like yourself, for example. I did watch a couple of your videos, and then I also watched Kaiseni and VMatt. So the community that was there looked like very, very attractive to go into. And then also for a while I was thinking I really wanted to create videos on manga or manhwa, and yeah, watching a couple of the VMatt videos just gave me the push I needed to start creating videos.
Honestly, yeah, I think I saw your video first, I'm pretty sure, like way back a year ago. And then I was like, this shit seemed really fun. This seemed really fun. Because before Lookism, or before the channel and everything, I was already pretty into video editing, and I was kind of lost on where to like apply it until I saw like your like how to read why you should read Lookism video, and I was like, yeah, this is good. This seems fun. Let's try it out.
I had a YouTube channel before I started making Lookism content, but I didn't post super often. But when I started making my TikToks on Lookism, people were liking it, and they were saying the manhwa was much better, the webtoon. So I decided, hey, let me go ahead and read the webtoon. I agree with them. The webtoon was much better. The art wasn't the best, but it was okay. So I kept on going, and people kept liking my content. So I was like, all right, let me make a YouTube video about it, and that's pretty much it.
What about the first Lookism YouTuber you watched?
The first Lookism creator I watched was actually you, ironically. So when I went to make my very first Lookism video, which was the Lookism anime is pretty bad or something along those lines, I didn't know how to structure it. So I just kind of looked up Lookism review for the anime to see what other people were doing to kind of get an idea of it. And that's when I saw your video, and I kind of modeled mine, especially the thumbnail. I didn't know what to do with the thumbnail either, so I kind of used yours as inspiration, and I kind of saw how you did your video and did that.
I saw your videos before I even made a channel. It was you, SDK Hub, and Blur Nation, really, and I guess Anime Eurodite, if I'm not mistaken. He was there too. But it was kind of like, it was really only you guys that were making like Lookism content. Everyone else was kind of just making like edits and stuff, and like versus battle videos, or there would be like those Filipino guys just like doing chapter reviews and stuff, you know. There wasn't any actual like Lookism content like there is now. And then me, VMatt, and Kaiseni, we kind of made this thing where it was like we called ourselves like the first gen of like Lookism YouTubers, and we actually included you in that. We included Blur in that. We included Anime Eurodite. But yeah, there weren't even really like any actual Lookism YouTubers that one could watch, you know?
I guess you've kind of already answered it, but yeah, the first Lookism YouTuber you watched was VMatt, and it was which video, sorry?
It was the ranking arcs video, so he like went through all the arcs and put them into a tier list.
And then you kind of have a special part on the Lookism YouTube space. You talk about fitness and Lookism. Can you give like us a little bit of a thing about Lookism and fitness?
Fitness and Lookism is definitely a key part. I mean, we've seen through Daniel's perspective how important fitness is to transforming through like his work with Vasco at the beginning, then with Sophia, and then recently through training with guns. So yeah, I think fitness is a key part in Lookism, and I just do my best to try and link that to how it can be applied in the real world. But of course, some stuff like, I don't know, like UI is kind of like difficult because it's fictional.
Yeah. What about martial arts and Lookism?
Well, I started martial arts like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm not a very like long-term martial art kind of guy, but it was one of the things which really got me addicted to the Lookism manhwa, actually. Just looking at all the different variety of martial arts, I thought that was really, really cool. So I decided, oh, maybe I can make a couple videos on martial arts and just show people how different martial arts can be strong, and not just the ones that are popular on YouTube or just popular on like social media and not the only ones that are strong.
Do you know if you were to think of which one in Lookism is like the best written martial arts?
I'd say written wise, we've probably seen, well, we've seen a lot, because I was gonna say like boxing or kyokushin, but like we've seen, because every single character, like of course some characters do have more screen time than others, but we see quite a balanced approach to the martial arts. But if I was to say the best written one, I'd say as of recent probably Caesarium, judo, wrestling, that kind of thing.
Lookism reaction videos. So you make reaction videos.
Yeah.
What can you say about like the hype or the appeal of people watching somebody like yourself reacting to the hype moments of Lookism or the sad moments? Like why would people watch that?
Man, because I think just as a content creator in general, and there's this whole little thing out there that people will just say that, oh, content creators, especially reactors, there's this thing, there's that because you just react, they think that it's just like, oh, well, that's the easiest thing to do, or how hard can it be, or whatever like that. But when you're genuine about the reactions, right? And I think that's where people can sense as they're watching your videos, if you're genuine and you're honest about it, right? And you're doing it because you simply enjoy it, whatever you're reacting to. Such as Lookism, because you can relate to them in such a way, because they love the story too, they love these characters too, and you're bringing your raw energy into it that gravitates towards people, the audience, your audience, and they enjoy that stuff.
I think reaction content is pretty cool, especially if you're like giving your genuine reactions. Like that's why I do my things or live streams, so there's nothing fake about my reactions. I'm literally reading the chapter with you guys as you're reading it. But I just think it's just a cool thing to do with the community, because a lot of us, like, if you're reading something really good and you want to share it with somebody, if you don't have any friends that actually read it also, then it's like you can't really share that joy with everybody else. So I think that's where the reaction content comes into play, where you find somebody like me or Blur and you kind of find a community. It just makes the sense of community a lot more closer than if I just did regular videos or reviews.
Most popular reactor. I would say that you are the most popular
I don't know.
reactor. Would you agree?
I mean, I appreciate it. I do. I mean, I'm always forever grateful. And I know there's a question that's probably there too, talking about this journey that I'm on, Lookism and all these other stuff, the Mamba journey. But I'm very, very humbled by that. I appreciate it. Seriously. I never take it for granted.
So I do remember this. There was like a Product Agent Comic Strike and then your YouTube channel. Can you just like give a little bit on what happened there?
Man, so here's the thing, because it always boggled my mind. And there's no hate. There's no hate. I love PTJ still. He's a businessman first. He makes a living off of it. This is his life work. You know, he's been working on the series for, I think, was it 2014? Somewhere around there. So he's been working on it for years. A decade. What happened was that PTJ eventually gave me a strikes on like recent videos, and this was last year too. This was last year. I remember this was last year. This is on my previous channel, and this was during, I believe, 1A. This was like at the end tilt of 1A. This is before Goo's arrival. It was somewhere around there, and it boggled my mind because I'm like, hold on. Through Webtoon's policy or whatever, America's, that you can react to those panels or to whatever episodes coming out that's available currently for free on the Webtoons app, if that makes sense. But you know, Webtoon has a thing too. If you buy, because you can get ahead, those you can do if you have to purchase them. Because you have to wait for like the free release of those episodes. But with PTJ is different because he has his own company, which is PTJ Company, which he does not just Lookism. I'm sure you guys, How to Fight is in there too, and he works with a lot of other artists. So he has his own company, and he's not just under the umbrella of Webtoon. So what I've learned to figure out is, his guidelines, his copyright guidelines are different because he has his own LLC, his own business entity, as opposed to just Webtoons, where they just don't care. Because it never made sense to me, because I'm like, hold on, I do this series, and I've done this series, and I've never received the strike from them, so what is going on? And PTJ is like, no, you guys are not you guys are gonna do this.
How many subs was that channel that got nuked?
Oh man, I think we're at like 18.5k. You know, and it was sore at first, of course. I mean, when you put all your effort into it, you work on the channel, and it wasn't just Lookism. Let's just make that, yes, Lookism was the standout of the channel, but you have to also understand I had so many other series on there, and I worked all day on it. I worked hours. I have more than hour videos. So when you culminate all those hours of work, that's the sad part about it. You know, it was like, wow. But you know, I love the people. I love what I do. You know, I enjoy it still, and that's why I came back with the rebranding of the channel. But now PTJ is kind of like off limits. That's Patreon exclusive only.
So I did have another channel, and it had like 1,400 subscribers. I put my all into that channel, man, but it did get terminated because I made a simple mistake. And even now on this channel, I'm already on 2 copyright strikes, even though I haven't included any of the speech bubbles. Yeah, so I've kind of been, that's part of the reason why I've kind of been hesitant on uploading. But there's also just been some stuff going on, like I've been moving and stuff, so it's kind of been hard. But yeah.
For those who don't know, because me personally, I'm not really in tune with all of it, explain power scaling a bit and like the appeal of power scaling.
Power scaling, in simple terms, is essentially explaining why one character would beat another, whether that be characters from 2 different stories or characters from the same story. And the appeal of it essentially kind of comes from just people's curiosity, you know? People tend to kind of compare things. It's kind of like human nature, you know? Like, we naturally like to compare 2 things to see which one is better. Kind of like debates like Goku versus Superman. You know, that all has to do with power scaling, and it didn't have a name, but it's always kind of existed, you know, ever since really fictional stories have been around.
So power scaling is looking at different things that characters do within the story, right? So like this character fights against this character, beats this character, okay, he's above that character, right? And then you can chain that into another, and then eventually you can kind of scale everything. But you also have to take into account, like, okay, these are statements that were made for this guy. So this guy has statements that would put him above here. And there's also, especially because it's inverse, which is, you know, scaling within the verse itself and not going like verse versus verse, like Baki versus Lookism. Inverse, you're also really looking at narrative. Like, okay, this is the portrayal this character is having. This then boosts them up to this degree. So you have to weigh everything, and there's this big misconception that feeds the only way to do it. But no, most, especially Lookism, statements and narrative are things that you really have to dig into to try and get things as concrete as possible. Because the end goal is to try and formulate the most accurate ranking you possibly can. So just find out how strong everybody is. And some of those scales, some of them can get kind of ridiculous. Like the one that I pioneered was Goose scaling back in the day of like, okay, this is his style that he displays here. This is what this swordsmanship style entails against UI Daniel. This is what it stayed to be his main style. This is everything that entails. This is how big of a jump that would be. Boom, 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 boom. Just going all the way up. It's like, that's why Goose #1 in the verse right now. Like that was, that scale I think took me, when I first did it, it took me like an hour to just formulate everything.
Just simple questions. Who's the strongest in Lookism?
James Lee.
James Lee.
Oh, that's
two sentences as to why it's James.
So, oh, you're limiting me. Sunji is drastically above Gabrion because Gabrion's equal to Mugen, and then James Lee is above Sunji. That's the simplest I could go.
Right now, if I had to say, probably Gabrion Kim, just because the narrative seems to push this idea that Gabrion was this character who was sort of just unbeatable. So it seems like he has this kind of plot armor thing where he really can't lose because he has people at stake that he has to save.
Early Lookism versus current Lookism. Do you kind of get what like I'm trying to say there? Like the early Lookism, they're more focusing on Lookism factors, and then current Lookism.
Like the more moral dilemmas in early Lookism. But I think for PTJ, it was an appropriate move to make because you could only talk about lookism for so long, right? Like, you can't keep talking about, oh, ugly and then handsome at the same time for like 500 chapters. So, personally, I like them both. They're both bangers. I still reread Lookism from time to time. But I don't... it's better to not pick between the two, you know? Because they're both good in their own way, yeah?
Art style wise, current Lookism, but if we're talking like story, I actually enjoyed old Lookism because of like the moments where they would have like the epilogues and they would have like the little cookie things where it was like the little short stories at the end of the episode, and how it kind of really showed the J-High trio and all of them kind of just still being like normal teenagers, even if they did like fight here and there. Well, but also, what are we counting as old Lookism?
What if it was old Lookism is everything before Daniel's death?
So before Jiho pushes him out the building? Then I'd probably go with new Lookism, if we're talking like that. And it's not by much. It's actually pretty close, but it's just, I still kind of need, you know, that action.
I'd say definitely current Lookism. Early Lookism's art is just, I mean, I wouldn't say it's dreadful because it's better than anything I could ever draw, but the art style is it's not the best, so I definitely give it to current Lookism as well. And I think the story is a lot better written and the pacing is a lot better in current Lookism as well.
I say current Lookism because the art is much better. The fights are a little bit better also. A lot of people are saying that current Lookism is just gangism. There's not much of the story anymore. I think it was always going to become this, and I think the story aspect of early Lookism is still there. It's just that it's more intertwined with gangism, right? Where early Lookism, they were fighting some weaklings, but now they're just fighting people like Gun. There's people like Gite getting introduced. There's a lot more heavy hitters in early Lookism, where the fights weren't that exciting.
Oh man, such a love and hate day, because it's interesting to see it from a creator aspect side, because you know, you get people commenting on the videos and stuff and always giving their thoughts about it or whatnot of Lookism in general. And so it's crazy because there's always a half, there's a 50-50 that be like, oh, I missed the days of J-High and seeing Crystal and seeing all of that. But now you have those people, because I remember at the beginning of 1A, before the first affiliate arc, before we got all those major fights that we got later on, I remember people were saying, oh, this is boring because there's not enough fights. And it's like, so to me, PTJ at this point can never win. Because it's like, and that's why I like the countryside arc so much. It ties into that because there's a perfect balance of it. And because there's half of the fandom that was like, no, we got to see who's stronger. You know, the tier list. We got to see who's the more badass character. We got to, you know, because it's always been an ongoing thing, especially between the members of the second generation. And then now you have the other fandom likes the nice Lookism. But I can never pick one over the other because they both form the identity of Lookism, right? And the whole conceptual meaning of Lookism, right? So I can never pick between the two, but I have to say I go with both, you know, just both.
Early Lookism versus current Lookism, you say the countryside arc, basically.
Yeah, it's the perfect balance.
So that depends on what you define as early Lookism. Like, how far is early? This is a 500 chapter long story. So it's like early Lookism's writing quality is far better. Like, it is far more consistent. The consistency in writing in early Lookism is a lot better. And you get a lot more time with these characters to really build up. You get the little bit more of the slice of life elements that then turn into gangism. Whereas current Lookism, yes, it has the best peaks, like 3A, Chun-Liang, Hunt for Gun to an extent. It had those two really bad chapters. Overall, it's good. The issue with current Lookism is how inconsistent that writing quality is, because you have 3A being absolutely amazing, and then you have Hunt for Big Deal. You have your pinnacle of Lookism writing in Chun-Liang, and then you have the absolute rock bottom in 1A. So it's like, it goes on this massive roller coaster of writing quality, whereas early Look is like this pretty stagnant, like, okay, we're going to jump up a bit, but it's relatively stagnant for quality. So overall, I would actually say early Lookism is better. But if I were asked like which one I had the most enjoyment with, it would be current with its peaks.
Well, those are all the questions I've got. If you want to give like a few ending remarks to the video.
Thank you everyone for basically giving the opportunity for me, Matt, Logan, everyone else to talk about stuff we like and then be able to basically spread the community. It's been really fun seeing how people like talk about Lookism, like talk about manhwas. People can just like express their thoughts on manhwas, be it good or bad sometimes. Yeah, that's something I'm really proud of.
If you guys want to, if you guys have time, just search Greeno_ and you'll see. Hopefully you guys can have the time to subscribe and like.
Well, go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Anime Erudite, and my TikTok. I would say just follow me on TikTok because it'll give you a lot more content from me. And as for ending remarks, I'd say I appreciate everybody tuning in to my content. It's something I never thought I would be able to do. Yeah, I'm really grateful for it. I never thought I'd get to 4,000 subscribers. So that's pretty cool. I appreciate everybody.
So yeah, once again, my name is Blair. Thank you guys for tuning in with us in this interview. And yes, so go check over my channel, Blur Nation, youtube.com/Blur Nation, all together. Go enjoy some good time, watching some video reactions. And you might find your favorite series there, or you can come and comment below. And if you want me to react to more things, absolutely. You can also find the Patreon, same thing, patreon.com/Blur Nation. And you can find all of the other anime and manhwas and manga that I can't necessarily react to on YouTube, because then I would get myself in trouble by the big bosses.
Yeah, thank you for having me on here. This was enjoyable. I really did like this. If y'all want to see more from me and bash my takes as all do, Technin09 over on TikTok, and stay tuned for Neologism. I promise you, it will be worth the wait.
Johan sucks. Johan's a crybaby. Johan doesn't deserve anything he has. Zach Lee the GOAT. Samuel Sale the GOAT. Goo is one of those guys. Goo is a GOAT. And sub to the channel, bruh. The uploads will be coming soon.
I think the end of Middle Lookism truly begins with this scene. Zach, Vasco, and the new and improved chubby Daniel entering the fight to help out Big Deal. In some type of way, after the long Jakeism period that the latter chapters of Middle Lookism had been in, this was a passing of the torch, back to Daniel and the J-High boys. Jae-Hong also sees his return, after like 100+ chapters of being absent. Crystal, Zoe, and Burn Knuckles' return are also great additions to the latest chapters that show how Lookism is being brought back to its current form. For a while in Middle Lookism, the shenanigans were missing. A super serious tone that you would expect from a crime gang drama. But thankfully, now I find myself laughing and smiling once again, present in this scene, with Vasco and the Burn Knuckles on their return. This super badass scene, with these characters we haven't seen for ages, cuts the seriousness, with Jace telling the crew to not tell anybody about how Vasco typed Big Deal into Google Maps. Hilarious. Lookism's art also sees nice improvements. I mean, it was gradual, and it's not like it happened as soon as this chapter dropped, but the art in these latest chapters are so good, and the character designs are so cool. Their features are accentuated, their faces are more beautiful, and their outfits are so good. I mean, it must be a testament that for a majority of Middle Lookism, DG was missing. DG's outfits being some of the best in Lookism, and its latest ones being some of the best. We can see it with basically every character, and it is the most obvious with Zach. Check out my Zach Lee fashion video for more details, but Zach's fashion evolution from the early hypebeast outfits and super basic tracksuits to his new luxury look with chrome hearts and Balenciaga is such a glow up. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is that Lookism has its aura back, with everything and everybody looking better and more badass than ever before. In these current arcs, Daniel is at center stage too, and not just any Daniel, but his original body. They've kind of blurred the lines between the two. Daniel growing a bit in height, losing weight, and becoming handsome. But it's not like they don't take note of this. Other characters commenting on these changes. In the Holidays 2 arc, for example, we see this clearly. Daniel returning to his hometown with his mum, mirroring the first Holidays arc. Here, we see a bit of that old Lookism return, with Daniel's family being shocked and at awe at Daniel's transformation, recognizing his change and bringing the elements of Lookism back, whilst later on also blending this with the gangism aspects, making a perfect mix, as Blur Nation said. Another example of someone noticing Daniel's physical change is Zoe, once again bringing early Lookism back. That is also in the same arc where the main cast infiltrates the Workers' First affiliate, which is a plastic surgery clinic. Also, once more, bringing the themes of Lookism back to the webtoon, this arc being overtly named Lookism. This era also brings the 4 crews to a close, what's left of the crews mainly focusing on their leaders' ambitions. The members of these crews are usually fairly content in their lives, working for the sole purpose of furthering their leaders' goals, like Big Deal's members training to become stronger, and workers trying to take down Charles Choi. DG's return as an extremely pivotal character, James Lee, the legend of the first generation, also plays a role in pushing the webtoon into its final few moments, wrapping it up to where it began. The way that I see it, these are all the pieces of the puzzle finally coming together.
The mystery of James Lee, the importance of Daniel's father, Charles Choi is the main villain, the first generation, the pre-generation, Vinjin's foreshadowing, and Gaprion Kim and his connections. All of these super important moving pieces have been building up since early Lookism. The fruits of Lookism's labor finally being appreciated now. The writing has also reached new heights, this Chonlang arc being one of the most interesting thus far. Vinjin's character gaining some serious depth, having one of the most captivating and heartbreaking backstories thus far.
The way that Lookism's beginning to wrap up, I wonder how much of this was a part of Park Tae-jun's original plot.
All of these different aspects, like Gaprion Kim, Daniel's father, the first generation, was this all planned from the start? Or was this a product of a series running super long and the plot naturally growing?
I personally reckon it will be a mix,
because we can see these early remnants of early Lookism coming to play right now. I mean, DG was probably always meant to be James Lee, although we can never know how much that connection with Daniel was meant to be. Same with Charles Choi. His connection with Daniel was always present at the start, this foreshadowing from those early chapters finally being cashed in now. I think it's beautiful, and something inherently unique to long-running series such as Lookism, One Piece, and the likes. Whilst not initially planning for all these things, nevertheless, they are important to the development of the plot and where the journey goes.
What I do know is that Park Tae-jun is writing about what he finds cool.
The outfits are finally cool again. Chrome Hearts is worn, accessories are stylized, sneakers are eccentric. His ideas that I assumed he wanted to write since a decade ago are being brought to the forefront again. And with the conclusion of the more simpler gangism storytelling and his art style finally improving, I wouldn't be surprised if he wanted to wait until his art style looked absolutely beautiful before making the story and ending of his dreams. I mean, you hear it whenever the topic of reading Lookism and suggesting Lookism is brought up. The early art style is ugly, but trust me, it gets good later on. If Park Tae-jun was to write everything he wanted to write while his art style was inferior, would anybody have read it? Would we all think it's amazing? I feel like most wouldn't. And I think that's the meaning to all of this, and the meaning of Lookism. Sometimes you can look past someone or something's looks off the bat, such as seeing the beauty in one's writing beyond the ugly art style that it beholds. But for the masses, it may take time. It takes hard work. Park Tae-jun honed his craft, improved his art, created a universe, a webtoon empire, and with all these eyes on him, will hopefully end his greatest creation the way he wants to.
Everything takes work.
Daniel's body transformation, Zach Lee's training to become stronger, the relationships and connections made along our journey, all of these take work and are present in Lookism. These characters, whether intentional or not, mirror Park Tae-jun's own growth and development as an artist and storyteller.
And that is something I truly appreciate. That is something I love about Lookism.
These past 2 years, I've been honing my craft, improving my editing, my recording, my storytelling, and script writing, which made me willing to take the next steps. In Lookism, Daniel tried to be an idol, and realized he didn't want to do that. I recently had a real-life office job,
but I realized I much prefer doing YouTube.
YouTube is where I've had the most fun, felt the most passionate, and is why I'm going to go full out with this now. Just like Park Tae-jun,
After improving my craft and gaining skill, I can finally create the video I foreshadowed in my very first upload. This video being the initial goal of this channel, a love letter to lookism. In between, I found my niche, my Jakeism, with fashion content. But, to be honest, that is not all I wish to do. I've never claimed to be a webtoon channel, and don't want to only make fashion content either. My passion is with making videos, editing, music, gaming, and more. My passion is making videos about things I like. And I hope everyone watching sticks around to see what I do next. Thank you all so much for watching. First of all, please follow my Instagram. This is probably where a lot of my interaction with you guys will come from, such as sending me fan art like this, or anything else. Thanks to everyone who's featured in this video as well. Their links will be in the description below. This doesn't mean the end of the fashion videos, or the webtoon videos, but just the start of making this style of video about other things I'm passionate about, such as video games and music. Not too sure yet. I hope my editing, my voice, and I guess my face and vibes that I'm cultivating on this channel are also something you guys want to stick around and support. This is a journey, and I can't wait to go through it with you guys. If you want to support my channel, here are a few ways. Firstly, is the merch. For this video, I'm releasing this t-shirt, which I've designed to be something that I would personally wear. If this video or my channel resonated with you, and you want to support my channel, then this is the best way to support me. They are under pre-order, which basically means for 4 weeks, I will begin collecting orders before production begins. The t-shirts shipping out when they are made. They are made with super high quality blanks with a high GSM and is also screen printed locally in Australia. I've priced these shirts to what I believe they are worth, as their quality is top notch. If you want to support the channel, then this is certainly the best way to. Like I said, this is something I personally would and will wear. If you want to support my channel every month, then I've opened up a membership for the channel, where for a small amount of money a month, you will be a special member of the channel. You will be given a bunch of perks, such as seeing the extended interviews for this long video essay, as well as other extra videos that I don't want to upload as standalone videos. Here's a preview.
I got a limited edition one right here.
He's just so bad. I don't want to say this one.
Say that shit.
He's just so badass.
I can't even see, and I kind of hate him because of this.
Cause you're Asian. And guess my ethnicity.
If I get this right, I'll go down in the legends, bro.
Great Northern beer. Great Northern beer right here. Australian local.
Also, you'll be given a badge next to your name that will appear in my YouTube comments as well as in my live streams. Speaking of which, I'm also going to be streaming on this channel, so please tune into those. Hit the notification bell on this channel, as it is the one that I will be streaming on. I should have one scheduled by now. I'm going to be unboxing anime clothing brands and also playing Black Myth Wukong. The VODs will stay on this channel, but the clips will be posted on my second channel. Subscribing to both of my channels and interacting with this video by liking and sharing is the best free way to support the channel. Let's try and reach 1K on the second channel. I've spent what feels like forever making this video, but just like when I started this channel, when there was nothing near the caliber of lookism content that is being made now, I hope that this video will serve as the best lookism video there is. And I hope you all stick around to see what I do next. Anyways, I'm rambling now. I'm Logan L, and I will see you very soon. Thank you. Bye.